How good does it get, SK?
Why not us, Charlie?
Today, live from the Pinecrest Inn, it's the Smylie Show. So long, everybody.
This is the Smylie Show.
Welcome back to the Smylie Show, where the boys are on the road this week, Smylie. I mean, you feel like you're perpetually on the road, but I'm down at what I'm going to call this our winter studio. I'm down at the same place where we filmed the Justin Thomas, the Jacob Bridgman interviews, just using a different part of our studio complex down here. And you're, of course, in Houston, about to take the flight to San Antonio and get bombarded by all the pollen that Texas has to offer.
The only correction is that I actually am going to be flying home and then flying back to San Antonio on Tuesday. So bringing the whole fam to San Antonio with us. It's a great week in San Antonio with the JW on site. Good pool week, but the weather, we've had such a good weather week the last couple of weeks. We were kind of due for a sketchy one coming up.
We had a full pool meltdown, like level 12 out of 10 today. It was like raining and windy here in Palm Beach, and we took Walker for a quick little pool trip before I had to watch in the tournament, and it was like brutal trying to get him out of the pool. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. They're closing the pool down. The winds are 30 mile per hour winds. It's raining sideways. Like, we got to get out of the pool. Did not.
Yeah, it's just sometimes difficult, especially at that age. Once you get in a good pool rhythm, if you get the right tools, right toys, why would you want to get out?
And it was a good negotiating tactic from Walker, because he said, well, we didn't even have time to get the toys out and put them in the pool. Like it's like, yeah, because they would have all blown away. He's like, well, no, but we didn't get to do that, so that's kind of your fault. So I'm sure we'll have time for that later this week. Shall we get into the golf, Smylie? Because we have a lot to cover both on the course and off the course this week. We are going to recap everything that happened with Tiger Woods earlier in the week, towards the middle or end of this episode, get Smiley's thoughts on that. But we're going to start this episode with something that was amazingly uplifting, amazingly positive. Gary Woodland, the journey he's taken to get to this win, to be the 2026 winner of the Texas Children's Houston Open. And to just give a brief timeline of sorts for those who aren't super familiar with Gary's story. So his last win professionally was the 2019 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. And since then, he's been through a health journey that sounds just about as terrifying as it could possibly get. So he had surgery in September 2023 for a lesion in a part of his brain that controls fear and anxiety. So imagine every day being governed by thoughts that you might die. Like I read examples that he'd be flying on a plane. He'd be worried that an overhead bin would open up and he'd get crushed by a piece of luggage. So like, imagine that applied over and over again to everything in Gary Woodland's life, all while carrying the stress of playing professional golf, like to make his living and support his family. And so then he has that surgery. We all rightfully celebrated his return to professional golf, but that is not where the story ends, because just a few weeks ago, during Players Week, Golf Channel aired an interview with the Rex Hoggard hosted with Gary Woodland, detailing the PTSD that he'd been diagnosed with and he'd experienced since that surgery. Another example from that, getting startled when a walking scorer got too close to him, walking behind him and telling his caddy, hey, you need to make sure no one walks up behind me. Bawling his eyes out between holes while trying to play. And his doctors, as part of this post-surgery recovery, said, hey, probably stay out of high-stress environments like playing professional golf. But Gary said, look, it's important to me as part of my recovery to take on this challenge from this neurological trauma. And he's done just that. And now here he is, the champion of this week's event, the 2026 Texas Children's Houston Open. I just want to start with, how popular is this win going to be on tour, Smylie? Because it feels like everybody was rooting for this guy.
Well, he's just one of the best guys on the PGA Tour. He's a role model for so many. He's a dude, like a bro, like one of the best hangs in the world. Gary is Mr. Cool too. He's got this swaggy walk to him. He plays with that attitude when he's coming down the stretch that he is the most confident and well-prepared golfer coming down the stretch. We saw that today in Houston, but he's always been a guy that I've looked up to, and I think many other players feel the exact same way. So when he's been on this journey for so many years now, it's been remarkable, really, to see him continue to play on the PGA Tour while dealing with all of the symptoms that he was having. I think we all I think most people, unless you were inside Gary Woodland's inner circle, you wouldn't have known this was going on. And I think we've been celebrating him over the last couple of years, where he's had this internal battle, like you referenced, Charlie, that nobody knew was going on. So for him to be able to play through it, but also, somehow through all of this, not lose it. It would have been so easy for him to have had moments to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I've got to get away from it and just kind of restart the cycle. But he was able to power through. And it's amazing to me how important it is for people to be vulnerable and have moments to let them know that, hey, I'm not okay. Like, this isn't something that I feel is going away anytime soon. But if I can get this 1,000-pound weight off my back, maybe it'll help, and maybe it will help somebody else. And when I saw Gary Woodland this week, earlier in the week on Wednesday, just driving around the golf course, walk up to Gary, and it's the first time that I had seen him alone to where I could thank him and say, Gary, you know what? I've always looked up to you. You're not only a role model to me, but I just think you getting in front of a camera and being yourself and talking about what you're going through is something that may inspire somebody else. And I said, hey, you never know what anybody's going through. And I appreciate you being open and honest. And little did I know he was going to win this week, because I would have asked him more questions about his game. I know it was my first time just to, just kind of well wishes. I can't wait to see you back playing good golf. He had a good week at Valspar the week before. And man, oh man, were we in store for an incredible week from Gary.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool to follow up on those thoughts of just when he very emotional on that 18th green, hugging his wife, doing the interview with Carr.
Everybody was. I was choked up, man.
Just that line of just, look, if you're going through something, whoever's out there going through something, I hope you can look at me and see what I've been through and kind of fight through that. And I just it's inspiring to me. I mean, you're just everything that there's a lot of variations of hard in life, and watching someone who can just kind of dig deep and find it, no matter how hard it gets on a day-to-day basis like that, you have to take something inspirational from that. So just thrilled to see him in the winner's circle. Now, what I don't want to get lost in this story is the golf he's playing. Because
oh my gosh, right?
This guy is 41 years old and was living in the 190s mile per hour ball speed range today. I think one of my favorite moments of the whole day was the third hole, where he just smooths it out there 196 miles per hour, and you audibly laugh on the broadcast.
It was not smooth. It was violent.
Oh my Lord. I mean, but I think it's so interesting to me. I mean, I want to talk about Gary and what he's doing, but also how about like the old guys moving it on tour this year? We had Justin Rose, all the work he's done with Mark Blackburn, winning at Torrey, smoking the driver. And then now Gary, 45 years old, 41 years old, like the old guys are making a little comeback here on tour.
Throwing Adam Scott.
That's right. How about Adam?
I mean, Adam Scott's a guy who's in the mid 180s. It blows me away how far these guys are hitting it now. Whether you're in your 40s, your 30s, 20s, everybody's in the 180s, and it's just insane to me because I'm a fairly fast player, and I kind of live in the mid 170s, in low 170s at times, and I'm like, man, I've got to find a way to start hitting it further because these guys are just well past what I'm accustomed to hitting the driver off the tee. But let's talk about the golf, because Gary put on a clinic. What he's been able to do to this golf course is insane, right? He finished second at this event last year with the Sunday 62, which was an incredible story. And we were just hoping, that one day we could finally have Gary getting it to the finish line. And obviously today was that day. But the golf that he played. So let's talk about the golf course, Memorial Park. What does it favor heading into the week? We talked about it. Bombers. So Gary Woodland was always going to be on my radar heading into the week. His iron game is something that has always been something that he's been able to lean on. A very solid striker of the golf ball, a flusher. Of course, playing it in Kansas, have to be somebody that fights their ball well. But the thing that I've noticed over the last couple of years and what he's worked very hard on is his putting. And it's something that has held him back, along with his chipping at times. But this week, we saw his short game and his putting be the thing that carried him out of those uncomfortable situations. he got in trouble, whether it be around the green, what saved him and what kept his momentum going was his putter. Now, of course, the driver and the advantage that he was having off the tee, having shorter clubs, yes, that is something that is a huge benefit for Gary and his speed. But it was his pitching on Saturday. It was his putting throughout the entire week. And the stat I'm going to give you now is going to blow you away. From 10 to 15 feet this week, Gary Woodland was batting 80%, 8 out of 10. Just
Wow.
something that, I would say 10 to 15 feet. If you had 10 putts, I would say the average on tour would probably be somewhere between 20 to 30%. So he made 80. So if we're going to look at key areas of how he got it done, it's that mid-range putting that led the way, that 10 to 15 foot range, because this was a week too where you're not going to hit it quite as close. Yes, you're going to be able to take advantage of the par fives, hitting long drives and irons into these par fives, but it's the par fours and the par threes that you're going to have these mid-range putts, and he was the best at it clearly this week.
Yeah, break even on tour, I think, is like right around 8 feet, maybe slightly under 8 feet. So to make 80% from an additional 2 to 5 feet, 2 to 7 feet is insane. Is it? I read at one point he was working with Phil Kenyon. Are they still together?
Yes.
So anything you heard from Phil along the way? I know you talked to him for a number of other players, but specifically what they were working on the putting that kind of made a change for him?
Well, I know he's heavily relied on his caddy, Butchie, for reading putts. So that's obviously gives him more clarity with his green reading, just having somebody else verify his reads, and Butchie obviously been a very good player in his own right. You have to see that as something as an advantage for Gary, but I think his technique has gotten a lot better. When we had down the line shots of Gary, it was interesting because it was, just all of his lines were matched up perfect. But the one note I'll pass along is that he changed putters at Sawgrass a couple weeks ago.
Let's go.
But it was tinkering for the reason of it wasn't trying to change his stroke. What they had figured out was that he was aiming too far left, and instead of trying to manipulate things, they said, well, okay, you're aiming too far left and you keep shoving putts. So that was the problem that they identified. So instead of trying to change the putting, they went and said, all right, let's see if we can find a putter that'll help you line things up better. So they went to a center shafted option that had a line that helped him be able to line it up better, and initially started to see some results. Putted well at Valspar last week, missed the cut at Sawgrass, but clearly this week his lines were matched up. He made so many putts that mattered. So sometimes a putter change a couple weeks ago leads to confidence that ultimately was the big benefactor for him this week winning.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to segue out of this section by saying we're about to find out what ball speed world Charlie Hulme's living in later this week, thanks to the good people at Srixon. Going to go out and get dialed in at Trayburn out in Durham. And that's not the last Srixon mention here on the show this week, because we have Sepp Straka joining us, and it's going to be a great conversation between him and Smylie about his journey in golf. But let's see how fast we're moving it. All right, I can't wait to get that whole thing dialed in. I'm optimistic. So this week, Smylie also held some great weight in that it is it's the cutoff week for the OWGR top 50 as we head into the Masters. So everyone within the top 50 at the end of this week gets in. And then, of course, if you win the Valero next week, you also earn an invitation to the Masters. So a couple of names I just want to hit for you that were kind of on the right side or the wrong side of that line as we exit Houston Open week. So Gary Woodland needed a win to get in. Got that done. We'll see him at Augusta National. Nikolai Højgaard and Jake Knapp were close to locks heading into the week, and then both played great this week and officially got in with that performance. Daniel Berger was not qualified, did not play this week, but was a lock to get in either way. So just confirming you'll see Boog at the Masters. For the guys who missed, man, Michael Thorbjornsen needed a 5th place finish to get it done. Looked like he was on the right side of that to start the day, then made a double at 8, and then a couple bogeys on the back 9. Unfortunately, will miss out. Hit the Gala, needed a solo second, needed just a super low round today. Shot 68, finished at 12 under, but also will be on the wrong side of that top 50. And then feel terrible for Pearson Coody, a guy who we liked, or I liked coming to the week. We liked all season long. Had to withdraw with a back injury after that first round. He was sitting at 51 in the world coming in, and you'd assume that injury rules him out of Valero this next week. So it looks like he's going to miss out in the Masters. So any names that pop there for you guys? Are excited to see the Augusta National for the first time, or guys you feel bad for missing out on it?
Yeah, a little surprised to see Sahith. I don't, based on how he had played this year, I would have thought that he would have been close to sneaking in that top 50. Obviously, bummer for Pearson Coody to not get that opportunity to try to make that cut this week, which probably been enough for him to jump into the top 50. Gosh, other than that, Nikolai played really nice this week, but I think the one big storyline next week would be if Ricky went on to win at Valero. That would be a really cool story to see him jump into the winner's circle to where he got to play at Augusta.
Yeah, and also, by the way, I should shout out the source of all that data. It's our guy, the guru. I still don't know if it's RoboPs or RoboPZ on X, but he brings us the updated projections all the time. So shout out to him. He's the best. Then a few miscellaneous on the way out for Houston Smylie. How about aces today for Shane Lowry and Adam Scott? Dude, Shane's ace collection. I know he's still going for a couple more big game ones out there, but he's got to have one of the best, if not the best, ace collections on tour.
He does. We've documented all of these aces. If you haven't, the ones that come to mind for Shane, he's made an ace at the 17th at Sawgrass. He's made an ace at 12 at Augusta. Is that right? Or was it 16?
It's
I always get those confused.
I know, same.
I think
I want to say it was
16.
12. Oh, it's 16? Okay.
I'm going with 16 here.
I'll look it up while we're talking.
What's the other one? So there's another
7
big
at Pebble.
7 at Pebble. That's right.
Yeah, let's see. Looking this up as we speak.
He's got more hole outs than any person. He's clearly a very accurate iron player, but so you need some luck for all these golf balls end up at the bottom of the hole.
I cannot. You know what? It must have been a practice round. I know we talked to him about this because nothing's coming up when I Google Shane Lowry Masters.
It wasn't a practice round.
Okay,
I think it was 16. I think
it might have been 16. Yeah.
I'm going with 16. Final answer.
Bad Google machine effort. That's a tough scene for my phone over here.
Because Seth made it at 12. He made it in the practice round.
That's right. And he also made one in the par 3 contest, which someone else on this podcast did, and it's not me. You right here, the guy. That's okay. SK.
Why not us, Troy?
Today, live from the Pinecrest Inn, it's the Smylie Show. So long, everybody.
This is the Smylie Show.
All right, Wesley, after a hop, skip, and a jump, here we are. You're on the range. Now, drove your motor vehicle to a place where you got some cell service, and here we are. We're here to talk YouTube Golf Tour, and I should say the Your Golf Tour. Excuse me, I would just assume the Y had to be YouTube, but it's Your Golf Tour. Wesley, how did this all come about? You, George, and Grant, of course, are leading this endeavor.
Yeah, we've been kicking the tires. I feel like there's been rumblings of it and people trying to do it for the last couple years. I know we've gone down some roads trying to explore to see what it would look like. And just with all the momentum in the space at kind of the point in time we're at right now, and all of the YouTube golf shifting a little bit more competitive, as you've seen in our like major cut series and a lot of these bigger collaborations, and even the Internet Invitational, or like we've done a couple skins games. George and I have started a 1v1 series with some significant stakes on the line. And it just feels like the next progression of where YouTube golf is going. Because we know, again, despite what golf Twitter says, there is an appetite online for us to compete and have some stakes on the line and be able to go out there. It's going to be a bunch of people that have played competitive golf pretty much their whole life at various levels, but it's just the time. The time is now for us to go and create it. And so, probably a year ago, we started some pretty serious conversations internally, saying, "I think we need to do this. This is where the YouTube golf can go to continue to elevate the product." And we kind of had our first phone call with the win over this opportunity of just building a championship. And at that point, it got pretty serious. We're like, hey, you know what? Let's build a little bit more of an organized structure where we compete, and then all roads can kind of lead to the win at the end. So that it's come together. I'm not going to say quick, because again, I've been 3 years straight of notes apps diving into creatives, how we can bring everybody together. And I feel like we've landed on something that's pretty cool.
Well, when I saw you guys on a flight the other day, I guess this was heading to Phoenix, and y'all were eventually heading to Vegas, and you said, yeah, we're kind of up to something, just be on the lookout. Well, this was that. Here we are. You got your own tour you guys are starting. Can you just kind of walk me through what the tour is and who can compete and how many events there are?
Yeah, so year one, this is going to be our first one. We're going to start filming in the next couple months, and we're going to have a handful of events on the docket right now. It's going to be 4 kind of marquee events, with the final one being at the Wynn. And we're going to have, as far as who is competing, it's going to be very, very high level golf. There's not going to be any strokes that are given. There's going to be no handicaps. It's all going to be people that are playing straight up golf from the same tees and competitive through and through, just like what I've and you have loved about the game of golf for a lot of years, which again, our careers kind of went away from a traditional competitive sense. But we have got pretty much anybody that's a content creator here year one, and then everybody's floating into the content creation space. You've seen the Jason Days and the Tommy Fleetwoods and the Phil Mickelsons and Bryson DeChambeau's, even Akshay a couple years ago, just dabbling in this digital golf space. And so we know that there are some high level people that want to chase the content creation space. And so that's going to be the core of it. Who's to say next year, as we evolve, like this is going to be a year after year thing, that as we gain momentum, we'll continue to grow. And I'll go and say it, we're probably going to do Q schools. We might host some tryouts, if you will, or Monday qualifiers, or however it may be, to continue to evolve, because the feedback that we've gotten thus far away from Twitter has been, I can't even tell you how many DMs and text messages that we've gotten from current tour players, from a bunch of people that are chasing it at the mini tour level, to all sorts of content creators out there around the world. The interest is, and again, we're less than 24 hours into the announcement of this thing, and we're obviously we know that we have to put out a good product for it to continue to evolve, but we've got a pretty good roadmap.
I mean, what are the challenges you think you face with expanding to more and more players? So you talk about all these mini tour players or potential pros that want to join. You've seen how challenging a big broadcast can be, and I know that you can have all the post production work and a big team to go out and put out an internet invitational or all the things that you guys do day in and day out. What are some of the challenges that you guys might have to deal with the amount of players and content you're going to have to cover?
Parlays are pretty much the reason that FanDuel and DraftKings were able to become profitable a couple years ago. Think about a straight bet that someone places on a sports book, usually about 5% hold rate for a sports book. A parlay, it's about 20%. So there's a reason that all the promos you get, all the advertisements, all centered around parlays.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
So why is this? The bigger question, Kevin, that we should be asking is, why is this happening now? This could have happened last week. Could have happened the week before. It is goodwill season, Kevin. It is goodwill season. We want to make sure the fans are buying those tickets. We are committed to opening day.
I like that.
We are committed to spending them. I mean, look, it is what it is. Like, this is what you do to fire up the fan base.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
What does the deal look like? That's where it changes. It all changes at that point in time because you've got them where you want them early or at some point, even late. And you're making a decision based on opportunity, based on staffing, based on program. And then all of a sudden can you just call my agent to get this deal done? And when you think you have a deal done, you don't have the deal done anymore.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
First listed here at 44%. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Bryson DeChambeau combined tie at 32%. And Yannick Sinner down there at 30%. So where do we do? How about that? Who will win more?
Yeah.
So combined effort. Combined effort.
Yeah. Combined effort. I don't know.
I like it.
Scheffler going to have to get it going here.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, Smylie. That's what I got for the week here. And there's no, easy way to segue into the section about Tiger Woods. I think, golly, there's been a lot of commentary on this throughout the week. Here's where I want to start. So I'm just going to read, for anyone who is not caught up on the full story, I'm just going to read you the set of facts of kind of what happened through the week. And I'd love to get your reflections on just, where you are with some time to process. So at around 2 p.m. on Friday, March 27th, Tiger was involved in a rollover car accident in Jupiter. And I think a lot of people found out about it. I did, when we broke into coverage of the Houston Open with images of this accident that had happened. So then there was a press conference held by the Martin County Sheriff at 5 p.m. And he said Tiger was driving a Land Rover northbound on South Beach Road at a high speed when he attempted to pass a truck hauling a pressure cleaner. Tiger's SUV swerved to avoid the truck, but clipped the back of the trailer. The Land Rover then flipped on its side and slid down the road. Tiger had to climb out of the passenger's window to get out. The sheriff said Tiger's breathalyzer test did not show signs of alcohol, but the DUI investigators on the scene determined that Tiger had shown signs of impairment. The sheriff said investigators believed Tiger had used a medication or a drug, but that no medications or drugs were found in his SUV. The investigators arrested Tiger and transported him to the Martin County Jail, where Tiger refused to submit to a urinalysis test for other drugs, according to the sheriff. Tiger's charges were misdemeanor DUI with property damage and refusal to submit to a lawful test. That was the urinalysis test, as mentioned. And then Florida law required that he spend at least 8 hours in jail before he could post bail, and was released on bail late Friday night. The most important part, of course, Smylie, no injuries, which the sheriff noted would not have been the case had a car been traveling southbound on the same road, but good that nothing happened there. So there are the facts. You've had some time to think about it, process it. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, there's of course a lot that still needs to be figured out in the whole thing. A lot of ifs, and I certainly don't want to speculate on anything in regards to this rollover crash. As it pertains to golf with Tiger, that's the lane I want to take in this. Is what do we expect from Tiger moving forward in the game of golf? Because there's a lot of things that might get pushed back now, right? So that same morning, he had signed up to play the U.S. Senior Open, and I was pretty excited to read that. And so seeing this car crash and how this could implicate not only his lead up into what we hope to see him maybe play at Augusta as a possibility, that seems very far away now, and less likely to see him teeing it up. But also his involvement with the PGA Tour in the Future Competitions Committee. There's a lot going on in regards to that. Tiger's, for the most part, been one of the lead players trying to figure out the future of what the PGA Tour looks like in its scheduling and how it fits with the membership. But also, too, another thing that has been talked about a lot is Tiger Woods and the Ryder Cup captaincy in Ireland. And that timeline feels like it's shrinking and shrinking now for the PGA of America, to where I felt that we were working our way towards Tiger being the captain. But now with this incident, you just don't know exactly which way the PGA of America is going to go, and if it's the right time for Tiger to be the captain. Now, what happens with Tiger moving forward? I think we wait to see maybe some form of statement from Tiger. I think we would expect that before we see him publicly. If we don't, I think until then, it's just hard to really know exactly what happened in this unique situation.
Yeah, and not knowing, of course, we assumed he probably was not going to play the Masters this year. We didn't know for sure, but we expect to see him at the Champions Dinner, probably at the opening of the Patch, because as his design firm designed that 9-hole course, the Loop, this week. So not sure in the near term what's going to happen there with Tiger. I'm glad you kind of handled the golf side of things, because I think just for me, the place I went first is just how we react to things like this as a society. I don't feel like I'm qualified to comment on, Tiger's decision making. We've seen a lot of that happen in media, but just how we react to these things, because we saw a lot of, interesting, maybe one way to put it, reactions to what happened, and netting out on both sides of how people feel about Tiger Woods. And so even though I don't agree with maybe some of those, I can understand where those people are coming from, because I think the interesting thing about where we are with Tiger is this is a guy that most of us who love the game of golf grew up idolizing, right? Like wanted to do everything like Tiger, like probably fell in love with the game because Tiger. And so then, and this also is an era where we're being told as kids, these are your heroes, right? Be like Mike. All these ad campaigns where it's like this is your whole role model, not only for the sport you love playing, but just everything this person does, you want to do as well, right? So then, when things like this happen repeatedly off the golf course, it's almost, I think, in some ways like a grief process. You have people that are kind of in anger, denial, defensive mode. You have people that are very emotional and upset about what they're seeing and reacting in that sort of way. And so that's why I say that even though some of these reactions are interesting, I can understand the emotion behind it. And where I kind of end up on this is it's a really great reminder that that everyone is human and are susceptible to mistakes like this. And a lot of times it's like it's worth separating the art from the artist in a way, and saying we can still have a great appreciation for Tiger's amazing work ethic, his artistry on the golf course. We don't have to let the memories of the 1997 Masters or the 2019 Masters or the Tiger Slam, be tainted by all this stuff. We can still hold that in a separate way, but also say, hey, he's entitled to be a human being and have these mistakes and go through his own process, and not feel like we're holding him to some standard that's different from any other human being should deserve or be afforded. And I think too, it's like you've heard Charles Barkley talk about this. I thought this was interesting. Jackie Robinson's widow Rachel talking about documentaries where they're portraying him where a lot of documentarians wanted to put him in this perfect sort of light. He responded to everything perfectly. And she said, no, like you're discrediting Jackie by not showing his human response to a lot of the things that happened to him. I end up in the same place on Tiger, where it's just like we are, he clearly, there's something there that he's, is going to need to work on in some way, shape, or form or the other. That's not really for us to judge or comment on. But as we live our lives, as we raise our children, it's worth trying to kind of think about that sort of dichotomy of, hey, we don't need to put people on pedestal in all aspects of their life. We can appreciate the things that they do well in their arena, but also just say, okay, that's the arena we appreciate them. And so I just found this week and the reactions to a lot of it to be interesting in that sort of lighter vein. And that's really my biggest takeaway, more so than where am I going to see him next? What team is he going to captain? What does this mean for his personal life? I think the last place this is just like, as a father, it's like, man, he was so close to this redemptive arc and still can be there for his kids and find a redemptive arc there. But, for him, it's like, I just hope that I hope that there's not a shift in that because of what happens here. Cause I'd feel for Charlie and Sam in that sort of regard with all that happened, but it's not really for me to comment on or judge. We're all allowed to be human and have mistakes. And that's kind of where I end up on it.
Yeah, that's all very well said, and I definitely think about his kids and all this because it's never easy seeing a parent going through something in the limelight. Of course, I know they've had to deal with it their entire lives, but I think about them. I also think about the accident itself and that nobody was hurt. So that's the only good news in all of this. But I mimic everything you just said. The whole situation is something that we don't ever want to see happen to one of the guys that we look up to like Tiger Woods. So very, very unfortunate, and just hope the best. If there is a best that can come out of this situation, I hope somehow we get there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, and then again, interesting to try to segue out of that, but we will do our best here to kind of wrap up today's version of the show with more kind of fun, cool news. How about on the DP World Tour, the first ever instance of brothers winning in back-to-back weeks on the DP World and PGA Tour is Alex Fitzpatrick wins the Indian Open. And I thought it was pretty cool. I saw Matt on X had taken the exact same tweet that Alex posted after the U.S. Open win and did the exact same thing around for him. Maybe another set of brothers on the Ryder Cup team. If Alex can keep up this form, you never know.
You give me Tiger Woods playing real golf, and you got my eyeballs on your TV screen.
No matter what.
No matter what. I don't
right.
care what channel it's on. I don't care the network. I don't care where the course is, as long as it's outside. And if Tiger Woods is playing golf, you have my unadulterated loyalty. I'm watching every minute of that golf coverage because I know he's the only guy I'm going to see.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Last year, this is kind of where Kalshi got on the radar, I think. They started with the Super Bowl last year, right, where they started taking a little bit of betting on the Super Bowl, but March Madness is where it took off. And over the course of the entire men's and women's tournaments last year, they took about $500 billion in trades. This year, first weekend, Thursday through Sunday, they're already past $1 billion traded.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Whatever the gap people believe is between the Dodgers and the Mets, I think that's the gap between the Mets and then the third team. I think the Mets are comfortably the second best team in this league. The Phillies are a much older baseball team with an injured Zach Wheeler. The Braves' entire rotation is either injured or injury prone. Maybe you love this Cubs team.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I do believe there are causes for players to become basketball drunk. Thursday, Friday, you're sitting around a hotel and all you're doing is watching ball. And then you go out on the floor and you're a little bit groggy. Yeah, because all you've done is you've laid in that hotel bed and watched game after game after game. And you get caught up in the emotion. Like everybody in the country was.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
That love it and realize that this is an opportunity to continue to elevate their personal brands by being a part of it. Another huge challenge is the production of it, the post-production of it. These are all going to be post-produced events. So making sure that you can get it out with a lot of quality, hopefully in as timely of a fashion as possible. So production is a huge part of it. But again, by it being YouTube golf, we have a pretty well-oiled machine with people amongst between the Bryan Bros camp and Grant Horvat's production squad and people that we've leaned on and used, and we outsource a lot of stuff, whether it be shot tracers or intros or graphics and all of that stuff. So like we have a pretty good team assembled to be able to put out a really high quality product. And again, I think the last piece of the puzzle is finding if we expand, making sure that the individuals that are participating add some value on the entertainment side. Like we don't want it to be a reality drama television. We want it to be driven by competitive golf. But we also know that what makes us unique is more of the insights between shots and cart cams and just the overall like rawness and realness of when we hit a bad shot, actually getting what everybody on tour is thinking, but you're not seeing how that plays out, because a lot of stuff that we have up here when we're competing on the PGA Tour kind of stays up here and we mutter it to our caddy or other people around and nobody hears. And so YouTube golf, it goes here, it goes out of here and into a little microphone right there that gets broadcasted to everybody. I think making sure that we stay true to the entertainment value that YouTube golf has brought over the years, again, to everybody but golf Twitter, I think is another hurdle that we're going to have to fight.
Well, let me ask you this, Wesley. The Your Golf Tour, will that live on its own channel? I know all of y'all have your own individual channels. Would it be a situation where it would rotate between who got to post it on their channels, or can you collaborate with each other now on YouTube? How does that work to where everybody feels like they have a win in this?
Yeah. I mean, just participation and being able to play for a purse and getting the eyeballs and the exposure and the personal brand awareness, and everybody obviously has their own platform with their own brand partnerships. And so we're going to be able to drive value to everybody that participates through that front. And then as far as distribution, it's going to, like, we do have a hero platform. It's got its own YouTube channel now, and we will pump out a lot of content on there. And you saw with the Internet Invitational with Bob Does Sports and Foreplay Barstool and those guys, and then the actual hero platform of the Internet Invitational just went right on the car. So you saw that them be able to collaborate on the posts, and you saw substantial growth and substantial eyeballs.
All right. So Wesley, what does this mean for you? So we've been looking for a tour for you to play on. Is this now officially Wesley Bryan's home of professional golf, or do you see a world in which hopefully one day that you can be able to do both if there's an opportunity where you do get a start in a PGA Tour event?
Yeah, I mean, my dream is obviously to compete and play golf and do it at a high level. Like, again, not as high as some people, but yeah, I would love to compete any week of the year that I have an opportunity. I haven't had those opportunities on the PGA Tour. I'd love to. I'd love to be able to partner with them in some way, shape, or form to reconcile whatever issues that we've had in the past. Like, I think it's now time for us to move forward. But again, that's not my decision to make, and I'd love to be able to tee it up. And these things, I don't envision us going to a 45-week calendar where everybody just devotes 100% of their time to this YouTube golf tour, like the PGA Tour schedule has done. So we're going to be strategic about when and where we go and how we upload and how often we come together as a group, because there is like a novelty to it, just like you see with the major championships 4 times a year. There is a novelty to those events. But yeah, I'd love to compete. I've dabbled on the the Asian Tour. I've dabbled on the DP World Tour. Played a lot of PGA Tour, Corn Ferry Tour events, and I just love competing.
All right, Wesley, who are some of the players? Is that going to be announced at a later date?
Yeah, I think the plan right now, again, things change. I think May 1st, we're going to announce our full roster. There's going to be a lot of speculation. People probably can jump to conclusions about who is going to be participating if you kind of read between the lines and know kind of what the qualifications are in a content creator league that is for high level golfers. So we can let the speculation run, but the answer is probably yes if you're asking. And there's 16 of them.
Speculation. I mean, we have time right now if we just wanted to dive right into it,
But you want me to let's give you
Come on, give me a little teaser.
Could we give you one?
I mean, Brad Dawkey.
Okay, I'll give you a nugget. I don't know if it's been leaked. There will be some New Zealand representation.
Okay.
There's one. You can run with that where you want it. I don't think we've leaked anything. Probably shouldn't, but again, the beautiful part is we don't have to be buttoned up. We don't have to do it the way everybody has always done it. It's just me, George, and Grant that are kind of putting this whole thing on. And we're willing to evolve and listen to our audience, what they want to see. Whether, again, people have asked about formats and structure and all this stuff. We don't want to set that in stone. We want that to be an open conversation with the audience to be able to help drive and build. Like we named it the Your Golf Tour. One, there obviously going to be issues with calling it the YouTube Golf Tour with branding and
figure that
stuff.
yeah
but the reason we landed on Your Golf Tour is because like the audience has helped us build our platforms. They're going to help build this tour as well. It's going to be they're going to be able to not participate playing yet, but we want them to have a really, really loud voice in the room.
Well, I understand that the Q School aspect to get onto this tour in the future is a cool idea because I think so many people want to have the jobs that you guys have, to play golf for a living, to travel around the world, have all these close friends and become popular and recognizable. Not to say that you guys weren't before, but still, how often are you getting messages from people that want to have your job that aren't professional golfers? They're like, please let me leave my desk job right now.
One of them was one of your, I don't know if y'all crossed over as teammates, but one of them is an LSU Tiger that texted us this morning. And you can probably guess.
Well, there's two that come to mind. And so, yes, I could probably come up with the
It's
answer
John
there.
Peterson. He texted, he said, when and where? How long do I have to get ready?
Propose a bill to end sports investing. All this means is, you didn't pay your tax to us as Congress. Pay that tax. We won't vote on this bill.
Yeah, we saw the same kind of thing, Donnie, with the advent of fantasy football. Remember when that first started and we saw ads everywhere and all of a sudden Congress had to get, that's because they wanted their fair share.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Myles Garrett's getting traded, and I think the Eagles make the most sense for the trade. The Browns need a wide receiver.
They do.
They need as many picks as possible. The Eagles are built to win right now. So where do they pick 20 what? Do you have that?
I believe it's 23.
All right, so let's assume it's 23. You give up the 23rd overall pick.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Get 50 home runs? He only stole 13 bases? Boy, he only pitched to a 4.15 ERA. Yeah, he's not the MVP. Like, who can steal it from him? If Ohtani plays the whole season, who can steal it from him, Tom?
It has to be something so dramatic that it will bring pause to the voters to say, hey, Ohtani's great. He was a good pitcher this year. He was a really good hitter. But what this player doing, we have to take note of.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I think there's an opportunity down the board. I think Pete Alonso likely has some new life. And what about your boy Schwarber here? We know
Come on,
up at the top, he's going to have enough at-bats and enough pitches to do it. Sounds like he's got 40 to 50 home runs I don't even think working really hard this year.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I tell you what, he would be a force to be reckoned with on that tour.
He sure would. Again, the other really, really important part of what we're doing is making sure that it is family friendly, that it can be enjoyed generationally in a living room. So again, we might have to put Johnny, if he's a part at a later date into the thing, we might need to put him through some training. But
He'll be fine.
again,
He'll be fine. I mean, it's your quality of play goes up significantly if John Peterson's out there. This is a guy who won the national championship his senior year. Didn't play in the Walker Cup, but probably should have. If you go back to the snubs of the Walker Cups back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was a big snub. I thought I got snubbed that year, and then when you look at John Peterson's his accolades at that point, that was a political decision. He had ruffled the wrong feathers.
100%.
And then he goes out and almost wins the U.S. Open.
Training.
The next year, I think he goes
That's
out and
right.
almost wins the U.S. Open.
Yeah, so maybe a little training for the Euro Golf Tour for our boy JP. But all right, so four events, is that right? And then leading to a championship at the Wynn Golf Course in Vegas, is that right? So 5 total.
Well, no, that
Okay.
will be the 4th event as it sits right now. Who's to say we're not going to do some sort of exhibition stuff? Like, again, this thing is going to stay true to YouTube Golf year one, and that's post-produce and all
Gotcha.
that stuff. But if there is an opportunity for a live exhibition type thing or pro-am site, like, we're open to just about anything, and we got some great partners with us that are willing to work. And what's really cool is, again, kind of how we've transformed this YouTube golf space with all the brand partnerships that we all have individually, is they just trust our vision, our creativity, and our like production of the content to be able to kind of go out and do as we see fit. So some people would call it unorganized. We would just call it creative.
Well, I know how important that is to have that creative control. That's why y'all have gotten from where you started to where you are now. But so how long for you, Wesley, before you win the Grand Slam of the Euro Golf Tour? You know, is it year one? Are we thinking this can be accomplished how many years down the line? Because you got to think your aspirations have to be high, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we need to come up with majors. There needs to be some sort of stroke play element, of which that is what the final one is going to be. There's also going to be a team aspect that, again, it's going to be all it's going to do is just add fun and drama to the whole thing.
Yeah.
As you saw with Luke Kwan in the Internet Invitational situation, where you have by it being a team and him letting down the team caused a lot of really, really good television. But there's going to be a team aspect. If we get to the point where we expand and we have actually like 4 majors, if you give me 3 years, I think I could potentially knock it down, assuming we keep John Peterson out. Which, again, that's kind of our decision. So,
yeah, there you go. So selfishly, he might not play.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So when's the first event going to be? Is that something that's been on the books yet?
Yeah, we have it on the books. It's going to be at the place. I don't think we've announced or released anything. That's going to come at a later date, but it's going to be a place that's played a really integral part in YouTube golf. And release date's probably going to be sometime in June is when we're looking to kind of start rolling them out.
Out at the end of next week? Do you have your blessing to tease it?
The thing that's coming out, help me out
to
here.
To kick off Masters Week, I'm just going to tease it.
Oh, yeah, tease it. Do it.
I cannot wait for you all to watch and or listen to the conversation Smylie had with Bones, where this is, I'll just give you the headline on this. This is, we took a Smylie's yardage book and Bones caddies Smylie through all 18 holes at Augusta National. We're looking at where do you want to place drives on certain holes? Where do you want to hit certain approach shots? Where are the different hole locations? With Smylie and Bones mixing in stories along the way about Masters memories and things like that. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever seen us record or do on this show. We can't wait to share it with you. So you're going to get set midweek. And at the end of the week on Sunday, you're going to get the first 9 holes of that. And then you'll get the second 9 dropping Monday heading into Masters Week. Don't miss it, especially if you want a guide to to watching the Masters and how these guys are going to play that tournament. It's a really, really cool conversation. Cannot wait to share it with you all. So
definitely one of my favorites. Shout out to Bones. We could have sat there and talked for another hour. It was fun.
And you might have. You didn't have a flight to catch.
I did have a flight to catch to come to Houston, but yeah, we're on to San Antonio. One more left in this long swing that we have, but looking forward to closing this thing out with a hopefully a clean weather week in San Antonio.
Yeah, like on two levels, right? Like on a allergy medicine level too, I feel like, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of flights, let's get you off to yours, Smylie. And yeah, tune in this week for all the content we've just teased. We appreciate you joining us, watching and or listening as always. And we'll talk to you right back here very soon.
We'll see you next week on the Golf Channel. This has been The Smylie Show.
You know, I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our lovely fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too, so please keep it up.
For all the good people at YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the
here on a beautiful Tuesday morning, at least in the New York area. Temperatures into the 70s today, and we're always good. Other than Tyrone, of course, who's not good today. Because he's still got the leftovers of